static pulse cuts the silence, rattling the glass in the windows. The lights flicker. Then a voice, distorted, alien, almost human, echoes through every screen, every speaker, everywhere at once. "They're already here," it says. Just 4 words. That's all it takes to plunge the world into chaos. Crowds in Times Square freeze, mid-stride. Phones drop. Data breath halts. Then, an alien signal floods the airwaves, chaotic, encrypted, grinding into the minds of those who hear it. On a suburban street, our protagonist, Elara Voss, a 32-year-old ex-defense analyst, clutches her temples as the sound drills into her. She doesn't just hear it, she feels it in her bones. The sky turns an unnatural hue, a metallic hum reverberates through the earth, and animals bolt in terror. The world is breaking. And then, amid the storm of noise and confusion, another message cuts through. "We've been waiting for you." Elara stumbled backward, gasping, her body numb from the static that had just ripped through the air like an invisible blade. The kitchen lights above her buzzed and flickered violently, casting erratic shadows across the walls. Somewhere outside, tires screeched. A siren wailed, then died out mid-howl. Her mind screamed to make sense of the sound, but there was nothing to grab onto. It was like trying to catch smoke. Her ears were still ringing. "This isn't a dream," she whispered, her voice trembling. She reached for the counter to steady herself, but the marble felt ice cold beneath her palm. Her son's cereal bowl sat untouched on the table. The house, usually full of warmth and movement, now felt like a tomb. Then, her smartwatch lit up. No caller ID. No signal. Just 3 words flashing in blood. Red, "Don't resist them." In the military underground complex known only as Outpost Umbra, red lights strobed as panic set in. General Cassian Reeve, a hardened man in his late 50s, with a permanent scowl and cybernetic implant across his temple, shouted into his comm. "Lock it down, now. I want satellite eyes on every anomaly." Technicians scrambled as alien code scrolled across all displays. One of them gasped, "Sir, this code isn't attacking our systems, it's rewriting them." Reeve stared at the screen as the Outpost's logo was replaced by the alien glyph, a spiral made of moving, jagged lines. "They're not here for war," he muttered. "They're here for control." Elara opened her front door slowly. The sky beyond had turned a dark, bruised purple. Her neighborhood, usually calm and sleepy, was in total disarray. Cars stood abandoned with doors wide open. Neighbors stood motionless in their yards, eyes lifted toward the sky, unblinking. The air felt heavier, like it carried weight. A low-frequency hum vibrated through her bones. She took one shaky step forward. The birds were gone. The wind had stopped. In the far distance, something shimmered, a distortion, like heat waves, but it wasn't hot. "What the hell is this?" she whispered. Then she saw it, burned into the side of the neighbor's garage, the same spiral glyph that appeared in the military base. Elara ran inside, heart pounding. She grabbed her son's emergency go-bag, something she packed years ago, and hoped she'd never need. She turned on the TV, only static. Switched to radio, same dot. The internet was down. Her phone, now completely dead, wouldn't restart. In desperation, she went to the basement, unlocked a heavy case she hadn't touched in years, and pulled out a black military-grade tablet. It still worked. A secure channel blinked to life. A voice came through, familiar and strained. "Elara, if you're hearing this, the signal has breached global networks. Do not trust official sources. Get to Sentinel Point. You know where that is." Elara whispered, "Damn it. Aiden, you knew this would happen." Elara drove through the hushed city outskirts, her hands trembling on the wheel. Every street was eerily empty, yet traffic lights still blinked red and green like a ritual no one believed in anymore. Her thoughts spun in a whirlwind, memories of her son, now with her sister hundreds of miles away, and the day she left the defense division behind, haunted by secrets too dark to carry. "Why now?" she whispered. The radio finally crackled, fragments of distress calls, scattered and overlapping. Civilian centers compromised, encrypted overlay on all systems, do not. Then, silence. A tear slid down her cheek as she tightened her grip. Her mind was pulled between the horrors unfolding and the guilt she buried long ago. She had sworn never to return to that world. But it had come back for her, and this time, it was personal. The car rolled to a stop in front of an abandoned elementary school. Weeds grew between cracked concrete. Elara stepped out slowly, scanning her surroundings. She wasn't here for nostalgia. This was where the hidden entry to the old secure data relay was buried. Before the war games began, before the alien code corrupted everything, this place had served as one of several listening posts across the country. She walked toward the rusted back fence and knelt, brushing away dirt and dry leaves. Underneath, a metallic hatch gleamed faintly. Her breath caught. It was still there. With effort, she pried it open. Cold air rushed up from below. Her muscles ached with the effort, but she descended. Every step downward felt like a retreat into memories she'd fought to forget. Classified missions, failed recoveries, betrayal from those closest to her. But she had no choice. The past wasn't done with her. The narrow tunnel beneath the school echoed with the crunch of her boots. She moved slowly, tablet in hand, illuminating the decaying metal walls. At the base of the passage, a vault-like door stood sealed. She pressed her palm to the scanner. Voss, Elara. Clearance Echo 7. The scanner blinked, then unlocked with a hiss. Inside was a tiny dust-covered room, a backup server core, one of the last uncorrupted systems. As power flickered to life, files projected in the air. Among them was a name, Aiden Cross, her old mentor, her former lover, and the man who had vanished without a trace years ago. Her voice cracked. "You knew this would happen." Video logs loaded. Aiden's face appeared, worn, tired. "If you're seeing this, Elara, then the awakening has begun. They've breached the veil." Her knees buckled. All her fears were real. And worse, he had left her behind to face it. Back at the surface, Elara emerged from the hatch, blinking against the darkening sky. Night had fallen. A heavy silence hung over the streets. Then, a rustle. She turned sharply. Someone was watching her. A figure stepped out from the alley, tall and cloaked in a matte black suit that shimmered subtly in the moonlight. The figure's voice was cold and unmistakably non-human. "You shouldn't be here." Elara stepped back, heart racing. "Who are you?" she demanded. The figure tilted its head. "You were never supposed to return." Elara reached for her sidearm instinctively. The figure raised a hand. No weapon, just a gesture, and every light on the street instantly blinked out. In the darkness, only its eyes glowed faintly. "They're already inside the fold. You just haven't seen them yet." It vanished as quickly as it came. Elara stood frozen. The war wasn't coming. It had already begun. Elara returned to her car, adrenaline still surging. As she sat in the driver's seat, the dashboard glowed. Her vehicle had auto-connected to the secured tablet. A map opened, encrypted routes, glowing red. One name pulsed at the center, Sentinel Point. She tapped the screen. Files decrypted slowly. Images of alien structures hidden in plain sight beneath cities, camouflaged by technology humanity thought it had invented. This wasn't just an invasion. This had been infiltration for decades. Aiden's voice echoed again from the file logs. "The war isn't about conquest. It's about awakening. We are the key." She stared at her own reflection in the windshield, her breath fogging the glass. The weight of it all pressed on her chest. No longer just a bystander. She was a catalyst. And there would be no turning back now. Elara stood on a gravel overlook, her car hidden behind the tree line. Below, Sentinel Point loomed like a fortress veiled in mist. Once a decommissioned military outpost, now a concealed stronghold. From this vantage, she saw dark drones sweeping in a tight perimeter, their lights scanning methodically. The place wasn't abandoned. It was active, and crawling with something not quite human. She pulled out Aiden's encrypted tablet and zoomed in. The energy readings were off the charts, spiking beyond Earth normal thresholds. "They're powering something," she muttered. Then a cold realization sank in. The frequency embedded in the alien message matched a hidden transmission node beneath Sentinel Point. This place wasn't reacting to the invasion. It was broadcasting. "We're the source," Elara whispered. Her stomach turned. The enemy hadn't arrived from the stars. It had risen from under humanity's feet. She crept through a drainage culvert, her footsteps barely audible against damp concrete. Inside Sentinel Point, the corridors had changed. New materials reinforced the walls, humming with quiet energy. She recognized none of it. Something alien had integrated into the architecture. On a descending stairwell, she paused. Voices. "I?" "Human ones." She strained to listen. "Phase 3 is underway," said a man's voice. "They still think it's an invasion." Another replied. "Let them. They were never meant to survive this phase." Elara froze. These weren't aliens. They were human. Soldiers, agents, speaking of extermination like it was routine. A hatch opened behind her. She turned just in time to hide behind a pillar as two armored men passed by, their visors glowing faintly red. Not aliens. Collaborators. Tight. The truth hit her like a hammer. "This was never about defense," she whispered. "It's about control." Elara accessed a command terminal deep within the base, overriding firewalls with backdoor codes Aiden had programmed. Streams of data filled the screen. Lists of known operatives, DNA sequencing projects, even remote behavior modification algorithms tied to satellite arrays. Then she saw it, her name, her file. It was labeled Key Host. She clicked. A video played. Aiden stood in front of a wall-sized data map. "She's the only one who can resist the overwrite," he said. "Her neurofrequency matches the counter pattern." Elara's chest tightened. She wasn't just caught in this. She was part of it. Created for it. A part of her wanted to scream. But deep down, she'd always known she was different, always felt like something in her didn't fit. "So this is why they never let me go," she said under her breath. She wasn't a survivor by chance. She was a weapon. Her breath shallow, Elara backed out of the control room, her boots silent on the polished black floor. She barely made it 10 steps before she heard the click of a safety being turned off. "Elara Voss," a voice said. She turned slowly. A woman stood in the corridor, blonde, early 40s, dressed like a field agent. But Elara knew that face. Commander Elara Kane. "Mentor. P. Friend. You should have stayed out of this," Kane said, raising her weapon. Elara raised her hands. "You're working with them?" Kane's jaw clenched. "I'm working to survive. The rest of you never understood. We're evolving, either with them or under them." Elara's voice cracked. "You lied to me." Kane lowered the weapon slightly. "I trained you to lead, not to resist. Don't make me regret that." And in her eyes, Elara saw it, regret and fear. The betrayal cut deeper than she could have imagined. Gunshots rang out. Elara ducked, pivoted, and charged down the side hallway. Kane hadn't pulled the trigger, but someone else had. Sirens blared. The base was on full alert. Elara slammed her palm into an emergency exit panel and fled into the mountain tunnels beyond the lower chambers. As she ran, the walls began to shift. The lighting flickered from fluorescent to bioluminescent green. The tunnels weren't just artificial. They were alive. Grown. New. She stumbled into a cavernous chamber deep underground. A structure pulsed at its center, half alien, half machine, glowing like a beating heart. She stared in awe and horror. This was the core. This was what they were protecting. From the far end of the chamber, a voice echoed, not from a speaker, but from her mind. "You are not separate from us," it whispered. "You are one of us." Elara fell to her knees. She wasn't just fighting the invasion. It was already inside her. Elara knelt before the alien machine structure, its rhythm syncing with her heartbeat. The voice, neither male nor female, not even human, continued to resonate in her thoughts. "You are of dual origin," it whispered. "Born from two threads, one of earth, one not." She shook her head, trying to reject it. "No, I'm human. My family, my son." But the structure responded with flickers of holographic memory, visions of her mother covertly injected with foreign DNA in a classified experiment, her father wiped from existence after questioning the program. "You were designed," the voice said, "to be the bridge, not a soldier, but a threshold." Elara staggered back. She wasn't chosen by fate. She was made, engineered by a human-alien alliance that began long before her birth. Everything she was, everything she thought she chose, had been part of a plan she never agreed to. Her blood wasn't a curse. It was the blueprint. As she exited the chamber, the truth weighing like iron in her chest, Elara found Kane waiting. Her weapon was holstered. "So you know," Kane said softly. "You were never meant to fight them. You were meant to awaken them." Elara's voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell me?" Kane stepped closer, pain flickering behind her eyes. "Because you would have tried to stop it, and none of us could risk that." Elara's fists clenched. "You were part of the program." Kane nodded. "Project Umbra. Aiden and I were both handlers. He believed in you. I was told to contain you if he failed." Elara stepped back, betrayed all over again. Kane looked at her with something like sympathy. "We made you strong, Elara. Now you have to decide what to do with it." Elara turned away. "You didn't make me strong. Surviving you did." Elara reconnected with the base's uplink terminal. Her fingers trembled as she uploaded the truth. Recordings from the chamber, genetic files, the legacy of Project Umbra. She encrypted it under one command: global release. The countdown began. In 30 minutes, the world would know. No more secrecy. No more control. But as the data processed, a new alert appeared. Aiden. Live transmission. She accepted it. His face filled the screen. Older, grayer, his eyes heavy. "I knew you'd reach the chamber," he said. "I'm sorry I left. They told me if I stayed, they'd kill you." Elara stared at him, fighting every emotion at once. "You could have told me the truth." Aiden nodded. "I tried. But you had to find it for yourself. You were never supposed to be controlled. You were supposed to lead." Then the feed cut. Just 3 words remained. "They're coming now." Alarms wailed across the base. Elara sprinted through darkened corridors, Kane at her side. The sky outside glowed blood red, an alien fleet descending, but not with firepower. No, this was a retrieval mission. They were coming for the structure. For her. As they reached the surface, shimmering drop pods began to fall from the sky like reverse meteors. Kane raised her rifle. "We hold the gate, you get out." Elara hesitated. "I can't leave you." Kane smirked, battered and defiant. "I'm already gone. You're the one who still matters." She turned, opening fire as the first alien shape rose from a pod, tall, luminous, and disturbingly graceful. Elara ran. The earth shook beneath her. The sky cracked open above. The war wasn't beginning. It was accelerating. The question wasn't if humanity would survive. It was whether it would even recognize itself when it did. Deep in the woods, Elara found a secluded transmission beacon. Her last shot at getting the global release out. She connected the tablet, uploaded the files, and hit send. The message went live. Across the world, screens lit up. Phones buzzed. Every human would now see what their governments hid. The truth of the genetic experiments, the alien-human hybrids, the false war. As she leaned against the beacon, Exhausted and bleeding, she looked up. The stars blinked unnaturally, then began to move. She understood. This wasn't just Earth's story. This was part of a galactic game stretching eons back, and she was its newest player. The beacon flashed green. Upload complete. Elara whispered, "Now you know." She stood tall as the wind picked up. Somewhere behind her, the forest rustled, and something watched from the shadows. Elara made her way to the rendezvous site, Aiden marked long ago, an old observatory on the mountain ridge, long decommissioned, now pulsing with energy. A battered solar array buzzed with residual power. Inside she found a relic buried beneath the floor, a containment sphere, glowing blue and silver. Her hands hovered over it. Aiden's voice echoed from a nearby holodisk. "This is the failsafe, not a weapon but a key. It unlocks the deeper layer of their signal, and binds it to you." Elara stepped back, afraid to touch it. "You're telling me to give up my humanity?" Aiden's voice responded, calm. "No, I'm asking you to decide what it means to be human now." She stared into the light. It reflected everything. Her past, her son, her pain. The sphere pulsed once, sensing her. It knew her already. The decision was coming, and she was running out of time. She activated the sphere. A blinding pulse swept through the observatory. Her body locked in place as data, not just information, but memories, patterns, language flooded her mind. Her scream echoed through the dome. She saw everything: the rise of the Alliance, the manipulation of species, the implanting of chosen bloodlines across galaxies. She saw wars erased from history, truths buried beneath myths. And she saw herself, Elara, the anomaly, the deviation, the unintended result of a program gone off script. "You were not made to obey," the voice said within her. "You were made to challenge." As the pulse faded, she collapsed to the floor, gasping. Her skin shimmered faintly, her mind burning with clarity. She wasn't human anymore. Not entirely. But for the first time, she finally understood what she was. The enemy wasn't the aliens. It was the systems that used them. The transformation left her altered, but not broken. Elara stood, her eyes glowing faintly with shifting color, her voice steadier than ever. The moment she stepped outside, she saw them. The hybrid forces cresting the ridge, dozens of them, humanoid but not human, elegant, powerful, connected by a hive consciousness she could now feel. One stepped forward, an emissary cloaked in starlight. "You have touched the source," it said without moving its lips. "You are no longer theirs." Elara took a step forward. "Then why come?" The creature paused. "To offer unity, or to end your resistance." Her jaw tightened. "You don't understand. I am the resistance now." With a thought, she summoned the data field around her. The mountain trembled as the hybrid forces hesitated, unsure. She wasn't one of them. She wasn't one of us. She was something entirely new. And she was ready to fight. The battle didn't begin with gunfire. It began with will. Elara focused her thoughts, channeling the awakened code through her bloodstream. Waves of force rippled from her, disrupting the hive's cohesion. The hybrids faltered. She dashed forward, moving faster than physics should allow, disabling one after another, not killing, but severing their link. They collapsed like puppets with cut strings. Then the emissary countered, unleashing a sonic wave that split the sky. Elara screamed, thrown back against a boulder, her body cracking under the pressure. But she rose, bloodied and shaking. "I'm not yours," she gasped. She struck back, not with weapons, but with clarity. With the truth. The beacon in her chest lit up, and the sky responded. Satellites aligned. The world watched. And in that moment, Elara wasn't fighting for survival. She was fighting to remind humanity of who it was before it forgot. Silence fell. The hybrids withdrew, their link broken. The emissary stood weakened but still, observing Elara with something resembling reverence. You are what they feared most, it said. A human, ungoverned. Elara didn't reply. She turned toward the ridge as the first rays of morning sun bathed the war-scarred mountain in gold. In that light, she didn't look like a soldier. She looked like something new. Her body was battered, but her posture unbroken. The beacon behind her glowed green once more, proof that her transmission had been received. The world now knew. Governments scrambled. The veil had lifted. Elara looked up at the stars, no longer afraid of them. This was never about invasion, she whispered. It was about evolution. Then she walked into the rising sun, warrior, anomaly, signal-bearer, leaving behind the wreckage of the old world and stepping fully into what came next. The transmission spread faster than even Elara expected. Every major city across the globe lit up with synchronized panic and awe. People stared at their devices in disbelief, holograms showing the hybrid programs, the altered genetics, and Earth's manipulated history. Some rioted. Others wept. Some just stood still, numbed by the magnitude. In a crisis bunker beneath Geneva, the World Council tried to maintain order, but their own systems had been exposed, proof they knew and complied. We're losing control, one leader whispered. No, another corrected. We've already lost it. Across the world, statues were torn down. Labs were raided. Hidden archives were uncovered. But it wasn't chaos. It was reckoning. Elara had ripped the curtain down, and now humanity had to see itself in the mirror, changed, violated, but undeniably aware. There could be no return to ignorance. The world was awake now. In a remote safe house nestled deep in the Alps, Elara finally allowed herself to collapse. Her body still hummed with energy, but exhaustion clawed at her bones. She stared out through the frost-rimmed window, watching snow fall in eerie silence. On the table nearby, her old photograph of her son, now creased and smudged, reminded her of what still mattered. She whispered his name. Kieran. She didn't know if she'd ever be able to go back. To be a mother again. To be human again. Maybe she never had been. A soft chime echoed through the safe house. An incoming message. She turned to see a scrambled voice transmission. They're rallying, it said. The ones who still believe in the old world. They're coming for you. Elara looked back out into the snow. Let them come, she murmured. Her war wasn't over. It had simply changed shape. The new resistance didn't rise with banners or chants. It rose in whispers, in underground networks and encrypted frequencies. Former soldiers, scientists, and ordinary citizens banded together, not to fight aliens but to take back autonomy. Across the globe, alien constructs were deactivated or dismantled. Elara's name became mythic, feared, revered, misunderstood. Some called her a savior, others, a traitor to her species. But she never responded. She watched. She listened. And when necessary, she acted from the shadows. The war had splintered. Not between humans and aliens, but between truth and power. And in this new world, truth was far more dangerous. Elara had sparked something uncontrollable. A movement that questioned everything. Not all would survive it. But none could stop it now. The signal had been sent, and the signal had changed the species forever. Alone on a mountaintop, Elara stood under a sky that no longer looked the same. The stars had rearranged, subtle shifts in constellations only she could recognize. The veil between worlds had thinned. She could feel it like a hum in her bones. They're watching, she said to no one. And she was right. Across galaxies, civilizations who once dismissed Earth now turned their gaze toward it. Not because of its resources or its chaos, but because of her. A singular being who had altered the trajectory of a planet without firing a single missile. She was a message. That control breeds rebellion, and even designed beings can defy their architects. Elara looked down at her palms, still hers, but different now. She wasn't just one of us. She was a mirror. And soon, the galaxy would have to decide what to do with its own reflection. Back in the city, life attempted to resume, but it couldn't. The streets were quieter. People no longer trusted screens. Children whispered about sky changers. The government released statements filled with denial, but no one truly listened anymore. The old structures still stood, but their foundations were cracked. In a quiet rooftop garden, a boy sat with his aunt, watching the sky. He clutched a small hologram of his mother, Elara. "Will she come back?" he asked. The woman nodded, eyes wet. "When it's safe." The boy looked up again. "I think she's still watching." And far beyond, hidden from satellites, Elara stood on another rooftop, watching her son from a distance. Her face was unreadable. Her mission had shifted, but not ended. She would protect him. Not just from aliens. From humanity itself. Because the world was changing. And change, she had learned, needs guardians. Weeks passed. Reconstruction began, but not in the way leaders hoped. Humanity wasn't rebuilding. It was re-evaluating. Elara watched it all unfold from the shadows. Her name was never spoken publicly, but she saw the signs, encrypted graffiti in alleyways, new broadcasts by underground networks, and whispers of something called the Awakening. She didn't start a rebellion. She became a signal, a living disruption. People began seeking out answers, ancestral DNA records, hidden archives, old myths that now seemed like warnings. She walked through cities cloaked in silence, no longer needing disguise. People didn't recognize her, but some sensed her. A woman at a market stall froze mid-sentence. A street child dropped their food and just stared. They didn't know why, but they felt something in her. Changing. Fire. Memory. Elara realized then, the world didn't need her to speak. It just needed her to exist. In a high-orbit satellite array, a lone technician watched an anomaly, an unknown data stream traveling between dimensions, not across physical space. The signal carried no origin, no end, just a pulse repeating. The threshold has opened. He froze, unsure if he should report it. Elsewhere, deep inside a government black site, a file labeled Voss Gen Unlocked was unsealed. Scientists gathered around the projected genome. One of them whispered, "She's not the last." Panic mixed with obsession. Governments weren't trying to stop Elara anymore. They were trying to replicate her. Back in her safe house, Elara stood still, eyes closed. She had felt the shift. Somewhere out there, someone had just tried to make another like her. She opened her eyes, grief and rage balanced on a knife's edge. "You still don't understand," she whispered. "You don't get to play God and walk away." A new signal pulsed from the stars. Unlike the first, this one didn't hide. It screamed across solar channels, undeniable and terrifying. Deep space telescopes captured it, a construct larger than any known vessel, drifting toward Earth at slow, deliberate speed. Not a fleet. Not a weapon. A witness. The galaxy had seen what Earth had done, what Elara had become, and now it was responding. The world braced. Missile silos unlocked. Emergency alerts blared across continents. But Elara, she did not move. She stood atop a tower, wind tearing through her coat, watching the alien form grow larger in the sky. She didn't feel fear. She felt recognition. She whispered, "You're not here to destroy us, you're here to decide." In that silence, with all of Earth's weapons aimed upward, she raised her hand. Not in surrender, but in warning. The construct hovered, silent, unmoving. Global tension reached a boiling point. But then, a light projected down, not a weapon, but a pathway. A bridge of radiant particles extended from orbit to the Earth's surface. No voice. No ultimatum. Just an invitation. Elara knew what it meant. She turned her back on the world she had just freed and stepped into the light. As her form ascended, Millions watched, some in terror, others in awe. And just like that, she vanished into the sky. Not abducted. Not claimed. Accepted. Earth was left behind to make sense of her disappearance. Was she peace? Was she threat? No answer came. But one truth settled in: the universe had noticed Earth. And now it would never look away again. Silence. Then darkness. The light was gone. The construct vanished. The world did not fall, but it changed. New questions rose. New powers stirred. And somewhere, between dimensions, between realities, Elara stood on a vast obsidian floor under a sky of shifting constellations. In front of her, beings not made of matter, not bound by time. She didn't flinch. One stepped forward. It spoke without sound. You have forced evolution before its time. Elara met its gaze. Time didn't wait for permission. Another voice chimed in, sharp like metal on glass. You are not the end. You are the threshold. She nodded once. The stars twisted overhead. She stepped forward into the dark. Let's begin. And in that final beat, it became clear. Earth's story was only the first chapter. The war wasn't over. It had just left the planet.